How many days before we invaded Iran did you know we were going to launch an invasion?
We can get into those details in a classified setting, but I work with my colleagues across the spectrum here to give me advance warning so that we can reinforce.
Was it 2 days, 3 days, a month?
It was sometime before that, sir.
Sometime before that. So you had not. With that knowledge, why did you fire at least a dozen agents in Counterintelligence Unit 12 that specializes in Iran counterintelligence, which makes us much less secure and safe with this war going on from Iranian attacks potentially against our country?
As I said earlier, Congressman, I don't work on timelines when these terminations occur. There are internal investigations conducted by the careers at the FBI that highlight unethical or inappropriate conduct, and it's up to me to make the decision. But our Iran Threats Mission Center has never been more resourced, as I've highlighted, a 43% increase in counter-espionage arrests from Iran alone, and 360 ongoing terrorism investigations with Iran-affiliated individuals.
And the people you fired, those 12 people, they were experts on Iran, were they not?
I don't believe so.
They worked in counterintelligence, did they not?
I'm taking you at your word, sir. I'm not familiar with every
You're the
single
chief
word.
director. I'm not. You should know the answer. You fired the people. Where did they work?
There is a question in this clip that nobody in Washington wanted asked out loud. How many days before America went to war with Iran did Kash Patel know it was coming? 2 days? 3 days? A month? The congressman asked all of it, directly, under oath. And the man running the FBI? The man responsible for keeping this country safe gave an answer so vague, so deliberately empty, that the room went quiet. It was sometime before that, sir. Sometime. He knew the war was coming. He fired the Iran experts anyway, and the best explanation he could give for that decision was sometime. But here is where it gets worse. Because that answer was not the most damaging thing said in that room, watch what happened next.
So my specific question is that there was a report that came out in February from CNN that the FBI had let go or fired dozens of agents and staff members from a counterintelligence unit tasked with monitoring Iran. And apparently the reason, at least reported in the press, was that these individuals had been involved in the investigation of classified document handling from President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and that this was the reason why they were summarily let go. First of all, are you aware of those firings, and do you concur with the rationale or reason for those firings?
I'm aware of that, and I know there's a pendency of litigation, so I'm not able to comment on them.
Did you yourself order those firings?
The FBI, every time there is someone who violates our code of conduct or ethical standard, conducts an internal investigation with the careers there, and they present a decision point to me. The Iranian Threat Mission Center has seen an increase of 43% in arrests for Iranian spy actors. So the Iranian Threat Mission Center has never been stronger.
So I'm asking about whether those people were fired because they were involved in the investigation of the document handling by President Trump, not for any behavior issues. Is that your understanding as well?
Again, ma'am, I can't comment on them because those are in pending litigation.
I guess I'm a little stymied here, Director, because it feels as though literally when there was a possible pending war, I'm outside of this intelligence circle in many ways, even though I serve on the Intelligence Committee. You collectively must have been aware when these firings happened that there was a meaningful chance that the U.S. might be engaged with a war in Iran. And having these very expert, super qualified folks summarily dismissed at this time, it just feels like an odd choice in timing. Were you aware at the time that this was going down, that this may end up weakening the mission and the readiness of that group?
The mission, as I stated, has never been stronger when you see a 43% increase in counterintelligence arrests and 21% increase in cyber arrests against the Iranian Threat Mission Center. My focus is on providing the American people the strongest FBI as possible. I don't work on timelines. I work on evidence that's presented to me.
I guess my concern is that it feels as though, and I very much honor the tone and tenor of this hearing, that this is about making sure that that we depoliticize what is the most important thing that we all do, which is keep us safe. And it feels as though this issue is a political issue, and I just am worried that we are taking really good, really qualified people and picking fights with one another across party lines, rather than making sure that we protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Patel, you had a question from Dr. Jackson about the shutdown we're in now with Homeland Security, and And I believe you said that this would be harmful to America because of the threat from Iran. Is that correct? Do I recall that correctly?
Generally, yes, sir.
How many days before we invaded Iran did you know we were going to launch an invasion?
We can get into those details in a classified setting, but I work with my colleagues across the spectrum here to give me advance warning so that we can reinforce.
Was it 2 days, 3 days, a month?
It was sometime before that, sir.
Sometime before that. So you had not. With that knowledge, why did you fire at least a dozen agents in Counterintelligence Unit 12 that specializes in Iran counterintelligence, which makes us much less secure and safe with this war going on from Iranian attacks potentially against our country?
As I said earlier, Congressman, I don't work on timelines when these terminations occur. There are internal investigations conducted by the careers at the FBI that highlight unethical or inappropriate conduct, and it's up to me to make the decision. But our Iran Threats Mission Center has never been more resourced, as I've highlighted, a 43% increase in counter-espionage arrests from Iran alone, and 360 ongoing terrorism investigations with Iran-affiliated individuals.
And the people you fired, those 12 people, they were experts on Iran, were they not?
I don't believe so.
They worked in counterintelligence, did they not?
I'm taking you at your word, sir. I'm not familiar with every
You're the
single
chief
word.
director. I'm not. You should know the answer. You fired the people. Where did they work?
People were terminated for violating their ethical obligations and the high standards.
Was
that
the
we
ethical
have.
violations that they dealt with the case of the classified documents that were found at the bathroom in Mar-a-Lago, was that the ethical issue?
As I said earlier, all those matters are pending litigation, so I'm not going to comment on them.
Director Gabbard, are you familiar with CI-12?
I'm not, Congressman.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. In the intelligence community's unclassified annual threat assessment from last year, it said, quote, Iran's large conventional forces are capable of inflicting substantial damage to an attacker, executing regional strikes, and disrupting shipping, particularly energy supplies through the Strait of Hormuz. It seems the IC was entirely correct in its assessment about Iranian retaliation in the Strait. Did the IC's assessment about the Iranian capabilities in the Straits of Hormuz change in the past year?
No, Congressman.
Does Iran still have the capability to threaten shipping in the Straits of Hormuz with missiles, mines, and small boats?
Their capabilities have been largely degraded, but yes, they still have means to threaten passage through the Strait of Hormuz.
And how long can they keep the strait closed?
Based on current events, I'd have to get an updated assessment from the intelligence community on that.
Did you have an analysis of the impact of a war on global supply chains and the price of oil and gas?
I believe that assessment may have come from the Department of Treasury or Energy.
It didn't come through your office.
It came from their element within Department of Energy or Energy.
Do you know if the president was briefed on those assessments?
I believe so, but I can't confirm.
So if he was briefed on those assessments that that was a problem and the Straits of Hormuz could be shut off and that's causing a great problem in the world's economy with oil prices going up to, I think, under $120 or something a barrel and an effect on all countries' economies, why would the president not have taken actions to strengthen defense around the Strait of Hormuz?
All I can say is that the president ultimately is responsible for making the decisions based on the totality of information and intelligence that he has available to him.
The intelligence that he has available to him, that's a scary thought. Does the IC know where Iran's enriched uranium is?
The IC has high confidence that we know where it is.
And can you tell us that in classified?
We can speak more about this topic in the classified setting.
Okay. Could it be, we have methods of destroying it?
This is a conversation for a closed setting, sir.
Do you have any idea what the purpose of the Marines being sent, the units that are being sent over there, is the idea that we will put troops with boots on the ground in Iran?
ODNI and the IC is not involved in the operational planning and movements of the Department of War assets.
Thank you. I'll be very honest with you. When you made read us your original comments, it was kind of scary because of all the craziness that goes on in the world. I can't wait for the classified setting. Thank you.
Okay, stop for a second, because I need you to understand what you actually just watched in that room. Not the politics, not the party lines, not the usual back and forth that people dismiss as theater. What you just watched was the director of the FBI, the man whose entire job description is knowing exactly what is happening inside his own agency, sit in front of Congress and tell a United States congressman that he is not familiar with where the people he personally fired actually worked. You fired the people. Where did they work? I'm taking you at your word, sir. I'm not familiar. Think about what that means for a moment. These were not entry-level employees. These were not random bureaucrats pushing paper in a field office somewhere. These were counterintelligence specialists. People who spent years, in some cases, entire careers, learning exactly how Iranian spy networks operate, how they recruit, how they communicate, how they move money, how they move people. That knowledge is not a database you can copy and hand to someone else. It does not transfer with a 43% arrest statistic. It walks out the door when the person carrying it gets fired. And Kash Patel, the man who made that decision, told Congress he is not familiar with where those people worked. But here is the part that I think deserves more attention than it is currently getting. It is not just that he fired them, it is when he fired them. The congressman asked a very simple question. How many days before America went to war with Iran did you know the invasion was coming? 2 days? 3 days? A month? And the director of the FBI, who had just told the same committee that the Iran threat was so serious that a government shutdown would be harmful to America, could not give a number. It was sometime before that, sir. Sometime. He knew. He has admitted he knew. And with that knowledge, with a war on the horizon against the exact country his counterintelligence unit was built to monitor, he fired the Iran experts. Now I want to be precise here because precision matters when we are talking about national security. Does firing someone from a counterintelligence unit automatically mean the unit is compromised? Not necessarily. Could there be legitimate conduct issues that the public record does not fully capture? Possibly. But here is what the record does clearly show, and what no amount of pending litigation language can erase from this transcript. When a congressman asked whether those agents were fired because they worked on the Mar-a-Lago classified documents investigation, the answer was not no. The answer was pending litigation. Those are not the same thing. No is a complete answer. Pending litigation is a wall. And every time that wall went up in that hearing, every time the same 5 words came back, the mission has never been stronger. The picture became clearer, not because of what was said, because of what was deliberately not said. And then came Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, the person whose entire mandate is to know what every intelligence agency in America knows about every threat to this country, was asked about CI2, Counterintelligence Unit 12, the unit at the center of this entire story, the unit that was gutted. Her answer, I'm not familiar, Congressman. 2 directors, 1 unit, 0 familiarity. Right as America went to war with Iran. And then the congressman asked the question that should keep every single person watching this video up at night. If the president was briefed that a war with Iran could shut down the Strait of Hormuz, spike oil prices to $120 a barrel, and destabilize global supply chains, why did he not strengthen defenses around that strait before launching the invasion? Gabbard's answer, the president is responsible for making decisions based on the totality of information and intelligence available to him. And the congressman said out loud what a lot of people were thinking. That is a scary thought. It is a scary thought. Because what this hearing established not as allegation, not as political spin, but as a documented record in front of a congressional committee, is that the people running America's intelligence apparatus fired, the Iran specialists could not explain, why could not say, when, could not confirm where those people worked, and could not confirm whether the president was properly prepared for the war he launched. Now, connect this to everything else in the public record. The same Kash Patel who cannot tell Congress where his own fired agents worked is the same Kash Patel named in a federal lawsuit alongside Pam Bondi for what those fired agents describe as systematic political retribution. The same agents, the same firings. Now in federal court, and in a federal courtroom, unlike a congressional hearing, there is no 5-minute time limit. There is no friendly chairman. There is no pending litigation shield. There is only evidence. And these agents have been building that evidence since the day they were fired. The question now is not whether this hearing was dramatic. The question is whether anyone with the authority to demand real answers is willing to use it. Because right now, America is in a war with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is under threat. The people who specialized in exactly that threat are gone. And the man who removed them cannot tell Congress where they worked. Drop a comment. Tell me honestly, does this change how you think about who is actually running things right now? Or does pending litigation still feel like a good enough answer to you?